We're going to be deep diving into the entire market of VA claims help and support. Everything from VSOs to accredited agents to the claim sharks to even what we do here at Vetclaims.ai. If you want the real truth, and you're going to get it, stay tuned. What I will say is this video is so real that I actually have to read this disclaimer before going forward. I am not suicidal. I do not know anything about Hillary Clinton or her emails. Any similarities between business models described in this video and their presumed lack of ethical or moral standards and your soulless operation is purely coincidental and is not related to or meant to singly identify or single out any one business. Don't send me your cease and desist letters, and if you are going to send me a cease and desist letter, please print it on Charmin Ultrasoft so at least I will have a use for it. What are we actually going to learn? You're going to learn how the claim sharks hide in plain sight. You're going to learn how VSOs cost just as much as some of these claim sharks and opportunity costs, and how accreditation in the VA claim industry is really just a myth. Yes, I just said it, and we're going to back it up right here. As always, to get the rating you deserve, hit that top link in the caption below. Go to Vetclaims.ai for more great content just like this. Let's dig in. First and foremost, let's start with our VSOs. Now, when I say VSO, I'm not talking about the individual veteran service officers. There are great veteran service officers. Most of them are great humans. Most of them are doing their best. For the context of this video, when we say VSO, we're talking about a veteran service organization. And there's great ones. Not all of them are centered around veteran benefits. But for this context, we're talking about the ones that wear the silly hats for the most part and are centered around getting veterans their benefits. What is the problem with VSOs, the big ones? Well, aside from the fact that their CEOs make hundreds of thousands of dollars, meanwhile, they provide or they rely upon volunteer labor or minimum wage or a mix of the two for the people that are actually providing the help to the veterans. That's issue number one. But then we go into the fact that they're completely undertrained. The accreditation, if you will, for this aspect, and we're going to get into a whole nother can of worms with the attorneys and the agents, but when it comes to accreditation for VSOs, it's an open book test. It's literally easier than getting a driver's license. There's no theoretical part of this. There's no medical part of this. There's no part of the accreditation process is centered around getting veterans a better rating, ensuring that they have better success odds when it comes to filing the claim. None of the training has anything to do with that. Every single bit of VSO training has everything to do with compliance of the laws, which is essentially like their data sharing, what you can and can't say, not getting sexual harassment suits, not leading the veterans to claim more things, not providing too much advice, knowing when and where they can't provide advice. It is holistically all about compliance and not getting sued. It is 0% about how to improve the outcome for the veterans. And that's the problem in and of itself. Then we get to the fact, so they're undertrained and they're underpaid, but what else are they? They're overworked. I don't care what state you're in or where you're at. Even the biggest of these organizations, right? They don't have enough VSOs to support all the veterans in an area. At most, the contact frequency that you're going to be able to get out of a VSO is maybe 20 to 30 minutes with them every other month. And that's a good case. Now, that VSO might be the best person in the world. They might have the best intentions. They might even be really good at what they do. But there is no way that within 30 minutes every other month, you're going to put some sort of cohesive claim package together, much less understand and identify all the things you do need to claim or provide supporting evidence for them. There's so many gaps left that VSOs are, in fact, the reason that 80% of veterans do not have the rating they deserve. And that is a statistic from the VA themselves. It is wild. I digress. If you are going to go through a VSO or you think you might have a great VSO, we've provided some questions here that you should ask them so that you can best make your decision. Because that's the entire purpose of this video. It's not to sway you into one category of help or another. It's to say you as the consumer, as a veteran, should be very educated on what you're doing. Because if you take this VA process, it's a 7-year process like it was for me, how much money are you leaving on the table for those 6 years? And that, you never get that money back. And you never get that time back either. How much more could you support your family? Could you go full-time in school? Could you work a different job? Could you do something you love? Could you change your life? Could you have afforded that vet bill, that doctor bill, that whatever? There are so many things that you can never get back by wasting time on this. So making the right decision the first time around, or as quickly as possible, is ultimately my goal in helping you with this video. So let's talk about the questions to ask these VSOs. If you think you got a VSO, you should ask them, what's your caseload look like? Are you helping 500 veterans, 300 veterans, 200 veterans? They might not want to answer this, and I guess more power to them if they don't. You should be aware of how much one person has on their plate. Are they really going to be able to help you? Then you should ask, how often can we meet or speak? Are we talking 30 minutes every month, every other week, every 3 months? months? What does that look like? What does our relationship look like in this process? Because it is a deep, depthy thing to go into. How do I claim the disabilities that I incurred while serving? Then you should ask, are you going to be able to help me identify all the things that I should claim? Right? I know there's some of these things. I don't know about everything else. There's over 3,000 diagnostic codes. I'm pretty sure I qualify for more than 10 of them. Are they going to help? It's a good question to ask. Can you help me support my claims because I wasn't a sick call hero while I was in? Now, if you weren't a sick call hero while you're in, well, join the club. Most of us weren't. Most of us were in units where you would have got the shit hazed out of you if you went to sick call all the time. And I mean, like, I was in the 82nd. I dislocated my kneecap on a jump. I remember I went to sick call and they still hazed the shit out of me for it. My knees hanging all wonky. Anyways, is a VSO going to be able to help you support your claims even though you don't have those in-service medical records? Now, I can already tell you the answer is going to be no, but in the off chance that one of these VSOs is hyper-motivated and they've got the skills and the time somehow to do this, God bless. Let's get it. So it's a good question to ask them. Let's dig into our next thing. All right, let's talk about multiple-based sharks. Now, why are we calling them multiple-based sharks? Well, because their whole business model is based upon taking a multiple of your increase. The most common way we see this done is they'll take 6 times the increase that you get on your claim. So say you go from $200 a month to $1,000 a month. That's an $800 difference. They're going to take 6 times that. Typically, we don't see people getting away from these type of claim sharks for less than $10,000. And that sounds like a lot, but the reason that it works out that way is these claim sharks will only do a few of your claims at once. And they'll only take things that they're very selective about. So say you know that you need to claim 5 or 6 things, they might only support you in claiming 2 or 3 of those. And then once you get those 2 or 3, then they'll support you doing secondaries on those 2 or 3 or the other ones that you originally identified. They get you not just once, but then when you need to go back the second time, they're going to take 6x that increase as well. Plus, they typically have hidden fees, financings. There's multiple different ways. Or it can accrue interest, and then that's when they start hounding you with their collections agents, which is pretty wild. And also illegal, which is why they're being investigated. You need to ask them that question. Now, who knows if they'd actually be honest? Do you put veterans in collections if they don't pay? It's a pretty great question. Me as the CEO of Vetclaims.ai, well, the reason we do business the way we do business is because I absolutely refuse to ever put a veteran in collections. You should make that judgment call of who you're actually working with and how they actually view the people that they're helping. Let's move on. The percentage-based sharks. These motherfuckers. Just going to leave it at that. They take 20 to 30% of your back pay. It's pretty ridiculous. They don't earn that. They don't deserve it. There's no way the services that they're providing equal that much value. It is absolutely wild. 7 times the profit margin that they need to be making. But all that being said, percentage-based sharks. They're reliant upon DBQs for the most part. They use the dock-in-a-box model. They take 20 to 30% of your back pay. And there's a massive incentive misalignment because unlike the 6x the increase, where they don't care how big your back pay is, they just care about how big the difference is. There's a massive incentive misalignment when it comes to the people who are taking 20 to 30% of your back pay. Why? Because if you have back pay for 8 months, and let's say that it's $8,000, 20 to 30% of that, that's okay. But if it takes 24 months or 36 months or 72 months, which sounds crazy. How could a VA claim take 72 months, Luke? If they get 20, 30% of 72 months at $1,000 a month, that's $72,000. For the same amount of work, this company is now taking 10x the fee. So you tell me, are they incentivized to work quickly and get you your decision the first time rapidly within 5 months? Or are they incentivized to do piece by piece by piece, keeping this back pay going as long as possible, maybe letting you get a few small wins? They're waiting to the last minute to submit a supplemental, and then it's not a thorough supplemental, and then they drag it on. That happens. How do we know it happens? Because those people come to Vetclaims.ai, and then what happens is we say, wow, you can read our Better Business Bureau reviews. There's a couple instances that are in those reviews alone where people are talking about, I'd been going through this company for 6 years, and Vetclaims.ai got me my rating in 4 months. In one case, it was even 3 months. Now, that's whatever. We don't control how fast the VA moves, but the point is, we got it all done at once. Strategically, you have to think about the business model that you're working with. It is a massive incentive misalignment. You to want to work with somebody, and what you want, your incentive is to get this rating as quickly as possible, and the company's incentive is for this to take as long as possible. It just doesn't make sense. It's not a good working relationship, whatever. If you want to go through a model like this for whatever reason, or you happen to be talking to them, here's some great questions to ask. Once again, are you or your employees all veterans or veteran spouses? Will I be talking to an offshore call center? Because once again, these guys are just as guilty as having, once you get signed up, you're doing all your medical stuff, everything else is done through an offshore call center in India or Bangladesh, whatever. Do I have an assigned assigned point of contact throughout the process, because none of them do that. Every time you call in, you'll be talking to 5 different people trying to figure out what's actually going on. Do you use the dock-in-a-box model? Most of them do. Are you going to charge me again if I need another round of appeals? How quickly can you get this done for me? How long will it take between when I sign up and you file this claim? Then, do you put veterans in collections if they don't pay? So that are your questions and your overview of the percentage-based sharks. All right, now we're going to be talking about your dock-in-a-box DBQ/Nexus dealer. Now, I know being a Nexus dealer sounds like a really cool job. It might be something that Mike Rowe would even talk about on Dirty Jobs. In fact, the way most of these companies operate, he probably could. That being said, the Nexus dealer is not your friend. It's not some dude bumping Slim Thug or Mike Jones on a Cadillac with Dayton's in South Houston on a Thursday night. No, it's not. It's not that guy. If you do see that guy, though, it's worth the investment. But that being said, the Nexus dealers, well, let's just dig into their business model. Enough talking about it. So what they'll do is they'll charge $3,500 to $5,000 up front, and they'll only do 3 to 4 items because they're like, you're talking to our magical in-network doctors, and they can only do 3 or 4 items because their time is so valuable. Here's the crazy part: there's no money-back guarantee. So you're paying $3,500 to $5,000 to talk to their in-network doctor, which is really just some dude that they paid to have a favorable opinion towards your claim. And if the shit doesn't work, if the magical letter doesn't work, you're out 5 G's. Like that, what? That's insane. That's a down payment on a car. That's a baller vacation. Damn. You could put it all on black twice with that. That's insane. Anyways, they'll charge the full price again if you need to go again, right? So like per 3 or 4 claims, you're talking $3,500 to $5,000. Absolutely diabolical work. I don't know how these companies are in business. I don't know how they grew to the size that they, well, actually I do. They don't have a money back guarantee, right? There's no punishment if what they do doesn't work. There's no consequence for them if they suck at their job. They do. Let's get further into this. That only addresses half the issue. The whole premise that these companies operate on is like, oh, well, you don't have to go to the CMP exam because we'll get the DBQ done here. But the CMP exam, that can be the issue, but more often than not, a veteran having the disability isn't the thing. If you got arthritis in your right knee, you got arthritis in your right knee. It doesn't address the service connection. And some doctor that looks at your file for maybe 30 minutes to an hour and says, yeah, I think it could be from service, is so easy for the VA to negate. And they do, because they know that that doctor has not had the time to properly review your records. They also know that that's the only time that doctor appears on your records. And furthermore, if they really look at it, which they might, they're also going to see that that doctor is not located anywhere fucking near you. You got a Zoom call with a doctor in Minneapolis and you live in Houston. So the VA is going to negate that. And they're going to say, well, our medical provider disagrees with that medical provider. Or they're still going to want the CMP exam, which negates all the work that you just paid $5,000 for. Once again, beyond me how this happens and how these guys grow. I don't think they'll be in the market for very much longer. But that being said, if you are talking to one of these companies, if you are talking to the Nexus dealer, not the cool guy with the Cadillac, here's the questions you need to be asking. Are you or your employees veterans or veteran spouses? Am I going to be talking to offshore call center people? Am I going to have an appointed person to talk to throughout this process within your company? How long is it going to take me from the day that I sign up with you to getting this done? Are you going to give me my money back if this doesn't work? And if you're not going to give me my money back if it doesn't work, will you at least shoot the shot again and keep fighting with it? I already know the answers to all these questions, but I want you as the consumer to be educated and to be able to talk about it. Let's move on to our next one. Now we're going to be talking about accredited attorneys, lawyers, and claim agents. What does that mean? It means that either someone's an attorney or just some human, you don't have to have any degree or anything like that to be a quote-unquote claim agent, went through the VA's accreditation process. I want you to pay attention to how I worded that. The VA's accreditation process. This isn't like an independent body. It's not something put on by a school. It's not something that the federal government at large has done. It is for the VA. We'll get into why that matters here in a minute, but ultimately what you need to know is that they're lawyers or normal people that went through this accreditation process. And it ultimately means nothing. They take 20 to 30% of your back pay, just the same as the claim sharks, which is really funny because the accredited attorneys and claim agents love to talk a bunch of shit about the claim sharks, but they charge the same amount, and in some cases even more. And they take forever to get their money, which is just wild. But the big thing about this is, once again, the incentive misalignment. These people are not incentivized to get your claim done quickly and have you win everything that you need to win within 6 months, within one claim. Why? Because they get paid 20 to 30% of your back pay. The longer this back pay trail lasts, right, the more appeals that are involved, the longer it is, the more they get paid. And let's be honest, they're not a nonprofit. They're doing this to make money. It is their way of living. Why would you ever think that they're going to do something that reduces the amount of money they make? And also, just statistically, They don't. You can ask them these questions. How long does it take on average from the day someone signs up with you to the day that their case is closed and won? And if any of them say less than 5 years, they're probably lying to you. Just from what we've seen at Vetclaims.ai, we have people that come to us with the most absurd things. What these attorneys and claim agents will do, just like the 20-30% claim sharks, is they'll submit one piece of this claim at a time. And they'll even do supplementals in a way where they know the VA is going to continue to deny it because they didn't quite include everything that was needed. Every 8 to 12 months, they're going to keep doing that appeal. And once it's been through 3 or 4 of these cycles, then they'll finally submit everything that they need, which they could have done in the first place. And then randomly, magically, you're going to be happy because you're like, oh my God, after 5 years of fighting the VA for so hard, I finally got my rating. When in reality, it could have been done in 5 months. And that is a sad reality that we see every single day. You need to ask these accredited attorneys or agents how long it takes, on average, from their client signing up with them to their case being closed won. And I would ask for proof or testimonials too. Ask them, are you, your employees, veterans or veteran spouses? How soon will I have this filed? What are you going to do to help me support this? Are you just going to make an argument? So on and so forth. Once again, are they going to continually charge you? Is there extra fees for every time they have to go through this process? Now, there shouldn't be if they're following the accreditation rules. That being said, that's where that stops. They're the same as the 20-30% claim sharks. The only difference is this magical VA accreditation. Let's get into that. This right here is the part that no one talks about, and it is the accreditation myth. Now, as I started building Vetclaims.ai up, I had all sorts of people ask me, are you accredited? Are you accredited? Are you accredited? And no, I'm not accredited. And my answer for that was, why? Because we don't take 20 to 30% of your back pay. But furthermore, I started to realize that no one out there actually knew what this accreditation was. For some reason, people think that accreditation, in the sense of the VA's accreditation for claim agents or attorneys, is something that's like super validating. It's challenging, it's rigorous. You must know how to do these things. The truth is it's not. The accreditation is an open book test, a webinar, and a certificate. That's it. And it's not even based, none of that test and exam, it's not even based upon how to get the veterans a better rating or to how to be thorough in helping veterans write out their claims or anything like that. It's nothing to benefit the veteran. That test is exclusively centered around the VA's laws on how they can file a claim and how to not get sued. It is nothing to do with benefiting the veteran that they're actually supposed to be helping whatsoever. The focus is compliance, not advocacy. Like, for example, there's no deep training on building medical arguments, disability rating strategies, CMP exam preparations, or even evidence-based claims building. There's not a single lick of any of that in there. It is exhaustively around the fee restrictions, conflicts of interest, and the process rules, like how to fill out a form correctly. It's essentially idiot-proofing it. It is not accreditation in the sense where you are some bona fide expert in how to deal with this. It's you have a pulse and are smart enough to help a veteran fill out a form. The veteran's success is not the goal of the accreditation. The training and credentialing is essentially how to not screw up legally versus what we might think it is, which is how to get the highest rating for the veteran. Once again, winning claims and maximizing ratings or challenging unfair denials is not one of the core subjects. In fact, it's not a subject at all. So if we dig into this, there's no real-world experience to be claim attorney or agent. This accreditation has nothing to do with, do you have experience doing this? How many veterans have you helped? None of that. You can be accredited without ever having helped a single veteran before in your life. That means that there's probably a Joe in the local barracks building that has more actual experience helping veterans get their ratings than these claim agents. I want you to put that in perspective. So every time you see someone, are they accredited? Oh, blah, blah, blah. Shut the hell up. What are you talking about? You're actively being a part of the problem. You are actively misinforming other veterans around you. And at this point, and in this day and age, with technology, great videos like the one I'm making right here today, there is no excuse to be ignorant of what's actually going on. Vetclaims.ai is here to make a difference. I'm here to make a difference in the way veterans access their benefits. We can no longer be tolerant of people thinking that accreditation actually means something or validates these firms, right? Or makes them better than anybody else. All they are is the 20 to 30% claim sharks with a fancy sticker on them that says, hey, we'll play by the VA's rules, which means that they're even less effective than the 20 to 30% claim sharks. It is absurd. That being said, final things on accreditation. There is still no meaningful quality control. For example, if an accredited attorney or agent loses 10 out of 10 claims that they help veterans with, do you know what happens? Nothing. If a for-profit company loses 10 out of 10 claims that they file for veterans, do you know what happens? They go out of business. They don't succeed. They don't grow, right? There's no punishment. Like the VA doesn't tell you, oh, you're not accredited anymore because your win rate went down. No, the VA loves that shit. What are you talking about? That's accreditation. It's a myth. And ultimately, the whole thing is just absolutely wild. To recap here, we've talked about the Doc in a Box and the DBQ Nexus dealers. We've talked about our lawyers and accredited agents. We've talked about our percentage-based sharks and our multiple-based sharks and our VSOs. The 5 pillars of shit, if you will, upon the VA claims process and the opportunities that are out there for help for you. But there's one more model I want to talk to you about. And, we'll figure out what to call this model at the end of it. There's a model of company out there that has proprietary technology that was built to get veterans the rating that they deserve. It costs $1,250, no matter how much back pay they get you. If they get you $600,000, if they get you $60,000, if they get you $2,000 in back pay, it doesn't matter. It costs $1,250. Not only that, if you need to do multiple rounds of appeals, or if you have an appeal and a new claim to do at the same time when you come into them, they still only charge $1,250. It's pretty crazy. It was founded by an enlisted veteran. The entire team is veterans or veteran spouses. 96% of the claims that they do are decided in less than 6 months from the date of purchase. Now, I'll say that again. With all the models that we talked about today, 96% of their claims are decided within 6 months of purchase. That's a very stark contrast from what we've been talking about so far. The average customer from this model sees a lifetime benefit increase of over $700,000. So that means over the course of their life, they will have earned $700,000 more in benefits after going through this company. So for a net investment of $1,250, that's a pretty wild return. In fact, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a better return on anything else out there. That's better than the worst crypto butt coin that ever existed. Better than Dogecoin 2 years ago. They have an A+ BBB rating. You get a dedicated advocate throughout the process. And I'm reading through this here because it's hard to believe. They also prepare you for the CMP exams in one-on-one meetings. So you have this dedicated advocate throughout the entire process with the company, but you also can text that advocate when your CMP exams get scheduled and say, hey, I've got the CMP coming up for, let's say, migraines. And the day prior or the day of, they'll get a 20-minute phone call with you to walk through how you need to talk about your symptoms in that CMP exam and what to expect. Because they also want to make sure that if you have a bad CMP exam, you know that you can call the 1-800 number, report it, and get a good one. So you're not waiting 6 months just to get skunked. Pretty wild. That model that I just spoke to you about, admittedly, it is Vetclaims.ai. Now, if you want to get started or you would like to use that model, if that model sounds like it's a fit for you, use the link at the top of the caption below and get started. Get the rating you deserve with Vetclaims.ai. If this video has provided value to you or would help another veteran, please like, subscribe, comment below what video you want us to make next or any questions we can answer about these models. And thank you once again for tuning in to a Vetclaims.ai video. We look forward to creating more great content for you soon.